Hello everyone, welcome to Only As Monthly Current Affairs series, and we are starting with the international affairs of the June month. So starting with some institutions, first is SASEC, that is South Asian Sub-Regional Economic Cooperation. So first of all, the sub-regional. So let us see in the map itself. So it's a partnership of 7 countries. Why it is called sub-regional? Because South Asia itself is considered as a region in which the Myanmar is not included. Now South Asia characterized with SAARC. So SAARC we have 8 countries, right? Very basic idea, very basic, you must be knowing all this. So this is a sub-regional cooperation, and in this 2 countries are not there of Southeast Asia, or you can say SAARC countries. First is Afghanistan and is Pakistan. So which is the additional country? That is Myanmar. So we have 6 countries from SAARC and 1 country from Myanmar. So we have partnership of 7 countries, that is they are cooperating on the project based partnership. So from the name itself, sub regional economic cooperation. So the idea is basically to to promote the regional prosperity, improving this cross border connectivity. One of the biggest problem in the South Asia is the connectivity is a very big issue, right? So we don't have the trade pacts, we don't have connectivity, free connectivity from one country to the another, like just like the Schengen Pact we have seen of European Union, right? So boosting the trade among the countries and strengthening the regional economic cooperation. So these are the 6 countries. So the secretariat is of SASEC is ADB, that is Asian Development Bank. Okay, so that serves as a secretariat for the SASEC members. Second is G7 Artificial Intelligence Group. So G7 countries, you know the name of the G7 countries, right? So this artificial intelligence group is started by the Canada and the France. Why it is in the news? It has been in the news because US has recently joined it. Now, the idea with which this was started, so G7 Global Partnership on AI was launched. Basically, hashtag AI for all, right? So use this AI for the benefit of all and all these things. So virtual meeting between the national technological minister was happened and US has joined it. Now, why US has joined it? Now, you have to understand one issue here that we will come across again in this slide or in the next one. So basically, Hawaii. Okay. So Hawaii is not that is a Chinese company which is dominating the 5G space, right? Now, till now, US has been the hegemon in the technology space. Now, Hawaii from China is dominating the 5G space, and it has been projected that this company Hawaii can dominate the whole, can have the monopoly on this 5G technology going forward, right? And that is why a lot of case was there in USA, because they started to feel that China's heat. And also at that time, you can see that Trump's trade war was going on. Trump was saying that China is taking advantage of us. Now US has entered this G7 artificial intelligence to counter China and specifically counter this Huawei influence, Huawei phenomena, I should say, right? For example, India has also banned Huawei for operating its 5G network. The Jio has announced that they will come up with its own 5G network. So these are the phenomena that is happening in the digital space. Next is emerging 7, that is E7. Not very important from exam perspective because that's not an official, basically a grouping sort of thing. But E7 is basically, you can compare it with G7. So G7 are the core Western, not Western, but very high industrialized economy, whereas E7 are the emerging economy that will dominate the global scene in the coming decades. So they comprise of the BRIC, BRIC, S is not there, right? So Brazil, Russia, India, China. Then we have Indonesia, Mexico and Turkey. Okay, so you can remember it like that. So 7 countries are there, E7, and basically they themselves contribute to third of the global GDP based upon PPP and a quarter of the GDP based upon the market exchange rate. So GDP, we have discussed GDP you can calculate on 2 types. One is PPP, other is on the market. So India is also on the third with respect to PPP, 6 or 7 with respect to the market. Now our economy has shrinked. So again, rankings will be there, right? So these are the E7, that is emerging 7. Next is 5 East country. Now basically these 5 East country, it's a World War II phenomena. After World War II, these 5 countries have come together for the intelligence alliance. So intelligence sharing, gathering. Why it is in the news? For two reasons. First, Japan also wants to join this five country alliance. Secondly, US has threatened that I will quit this particular alliance if you people do not ban Hawaii from your own country. So again, that is reiterated. That is the digital part of the discussion, right? How US is trying to counter this Hawaii threat. So these are the five countries: Australia, New Zealand, UK, US, and Canada. Remember these five countries. There is no France in it. Okay. So Japan sets its sights on the 6I alliance. 6I means including Japan will be its 6I alliance. And the idea is that China's growing military expansion and trying to get some intelligence gathering, and especially in the South China Sea. We have discussed South China Sea in detail. Next is non-permanent member of UNSC. So India has became the UNSC's non-permanent member from 2021 to 2022. India will be there. So I think I have discussed these norms. So India has released this campaign, that is new orientation from reformed multilateral system. So India wants the uniform in UN and specifically uniform in the UNSC, United Nations Security Council. So the norms is basically India's document, you can say, or brochure or campaign to reform this United Nations. So discussing something with respect to non-permanent membership. So basically UNSC comprises of 15 members, 5 are permanent, these are the P5s, and other are the non-permanent members. But these non-permanent members, just so as to give the representation to all the regions, we have divided the seats. So in Asia, we have to give 2 seats. In Africa, we have to give 3 seats. In Latin America, we have to give 2 seats. For Eastern Europe, we have to give 1 seat and 2 seats for the Western European and other countries. Okay? Right. So this question can come, that India is the one country which has been elected for the non-permanent member for the maximum time. Is it true or false? It is false. It is the Japan which has been elected as the maximum number of time as a non-permanent member. So remember that India has been, this time India will be 8th time, right? So India's term will start from 2021, and this will be the 8th time India will be the part of the non-permanent member of the UNSC. Next, 36th association, 36th summit happened of ASEAN. ASEAN we have discussed previously. ASEAN very easy. So it was chaired by Vietnam with the theme of cohesive and responsive ASEAN. In fact, one of the I should say positive achievements of the world, if we call it in terms of the institutionalization, that is ASEAN, how they basically operate. So they decided to establish this ASEAN COVID-19 response fund. Not too much important for us. It comprises of 10 countries. Map of Southeast Asia is relatively more important with respect to the mapping. They have asked question there once or twice. We have discussed that. But the mapping of the capitals they can ask. So arranging the capitals from north to south like that. So basically they talk that ASEAN countries will contract the most impact will be on the Thailand and Vietnam. Why? Because these countries depend more on the tourism and the exports. So both of them are down. Exports are also down and tourism is also down. So their economy will suffer the most. So that is their case. Then they also talked about the South China Sea and all, but not relevant for us. Next is United Nations Armed Trade Treaty, UNATT. Sorry. So recently some development. So US has threatened that we will withdraw from this treaty, and China said no, we will join this treaty. Okay. So this is the development. China has announced their CCP, Chinese Communist Party have announced that they will join this United Nations Armed Trade Treaty. China held that they have always followed this thing, and now they want to become part of it. Okay. So US has felt that treaty, just like we have read that US want to get out of this New START treaty, US withdrew from INF treaty and all this. We have read about all this. So US says that this treaty has failed to truly address the problem because this Russia and China were not signatory to it, and we are signatory. We are bound by this treaty. So US problems are these, but now China has come out and said that we will um, sign this. So about this treaty, so basically the treaty regulates the international, from the name itself, armed trade treaty. So the treaty regulates the international trade in the conventional arms, from small arms to battle tank, combat aircraft, and all these things. It came into force in 2014. Now this diagram is not important. Don't remember it. So India, what about the India status? That is important for us. So India has not signed this, citing the same reasons it has cited for the CTBT and NBT. That this treaty basically is a bit discriminatory, and it will not create a impact or tangible impact on the trafficking or this trafficking of the conventional arms or overall disarmament. It will have no impact or little impact. Okay, so specific provisions are not there. The problem of non-compliance is there. So India has said no, we will not. We are obviously for it, just like we say for the nuclear. We are a peaceful nation. We don't proliferate, right? But we need to maintain the balance between the exporting and the importing nation. That's what India says, right? So ATTs, this armed trade treaty, should ensure that the balance should be there between the exporting nation and the importing nation. Currently, it is too much bias for the exporting nations, right? So we are done with the institutions part of things. Now we will discuss this country specific information. I should have put the heading, but no issues. To country specific. Next is Antifa or Antifa. So what is this basically? It's an anti-fascist political movement in United States, predominantly in United States. To basically what it is. So Trump has recently tweeted this Antifa. These people who are against the Trump, you can see many black people here. Okay, no, not these. They are not black, but these many people are black here. Okay, let us start. So basically, you must have heard about this Black Lives Movement, right? We will discuss that. So Black Lives Movement started with the death of George Floyd by the some illegally, basically they're murdered by the 4 white policemen. So this bring about again the issue of the racism in America, how it is still manifested, and that triggered into this Black Lives Movement. It was basically a civil disobedience movement. Was basically a protest movement, democratic right to protest, coming on the street, peaceful protest. But again, and you can see that Trump did not like it, right? Because Trump is a conservative. So he did not like it. And this basically political movement, anti-fascist political movement. So they came out, and sometimes they also did violent activities. And Trump picked that up. And Trump said that this Antifa, these are like a terrorist organization. He tweeted about that as well. And I think he has made it as a legally that they have put this Antifa under this terrorist organization list. Okay. Or banned them. So that's what you need to remember. So Antifa will be, you remember, just like anti-fascist political movement. So remember, it was something against Trump or against the conservatism for the Black Lives Movement. Okay. So they want the direct action, but their methods are not really good. So some of the violent method when they adopt, so that becomes a problem in democracy. Okay. So they want direct action rather than through policy reforms, because policy reforms are more incremental in nature. Slowly they go. But now black people, many of the black people or many, and including some of the white people, feel that to eradicate this racism in America, we need some concrete action. We don't need these incremental reforms. We need holistic reforms in police and all this, but we don't have to go too much into it because it does not concern us directly. Next is Nordic Pool. So what is this Nordic Pool? Nord Pool. So it is basically the world's first international exchange for power trading, sourcing power from different sources like hydrothermal, nuclear. So you can see it like an exchange where all the data or all the power sources, their values will be there. And from that, the sharing will be done to the potential users. Just like that. Just don't go too much into deep. If the question comes, Nordic Pool is in the news, what is this? So it is basically an international exchange for the power. Okay, it is in the Europe. Nordic, from the Nordic, you can remember that. So European power exchange, Europe's leading power market, and offering trading, clearing, settlement, and associated services. Okay, right. Next is Constitutional Second Amendment Bill in Nepal. So last time in April month, we have discussed the border dispute between India and Nepal. So they have claimed 3 of the territories which did not have Limpiadhura, Kalapani, Lipu Lake. We have discussed all these 3 things. So they have enshrined that into their constitution under the second schedule 3 of the Nepalese constitution. Okay, second amendment of the Nepal constitution. So with this, they have ingrained this into their constitution, and this is why many commentators in India have said that now they have incorporated this into their maps. Then there is no way that India can persuade them to go back on this border thing. Next, Black Lives movement. So I've discussed about this Black Lives movement. If you have seen that George Floyd video, very compassionate video, right? So it was largely first in USA, then it expanded into many countries. It expanded into UK, expanded into some of the European other countries, France, Germany. They all protested there, or at least shown their voice in that in democracy their voice matters. So it was a decentralized, or you can say these movements are also having anarchist tendencies because they don't have any leader. It is a leaderless movement. So decentralized international movement advocating the non-violent civil disobedience in the protest against the racially motivated violence against the African American people. I have been watching some of the videos of John Oliver or the Patriot Act by the Hasan Minhaj. If you find time, please do watch. It's really good videos through satire, through comedy. They explain some very good issues. You'll also understand how basically democracy works as well, that why we require a lot of news media organizations to report such issues. Next is Middle East Quartet, very important, not a recent one, but it remains in the news. So basically this quartet means 4 people. So 4 people are USA, United Nations, European Union and Russia. Okay, so the presence of European Union and UN becomes a bit interesting. So this quartet remains in the news. It is also known as the Madrid Quartet or simply the Quartet. So these are foursome nations and the international or supranational entities which are involved in the mediation of the Israel-Palestine issue. Okay, so Israel-Palestine peace process they want to solve. So these are the 4 countries. So Palestine leader says this is ready for the Israel peace talks with these 4 countries, and this is the news from 25th August, so 2 days back. Okay, 2020. So this was formed in 2002 when the second Intifada. What is Intifada? Just want to highlight if this question comes, because it was also in the context of the Kashmir it has been discussed. Nawaz Sharif, while discussing in the UN 2 to 3 years back, discussed that in the Kashmir Intifada is happening. So Intifada is basically, okay, let us understand from the example of Kashmir itself. So when the violence in the Kashmir is because of the outside forces, it is not Intifada. It is the external forces which is operating. Intifada means when the uprising is homegrown. From inside the uprising are coming in. That is Intifada. Okay. So second Intifada when came and Israeli crackdown. And then in 2002 this Middle East Quartet was formed. Next, so that's the end of the session. Let us quickly see some of the questions. First question is, consider the following statement about the FATF. So it is an informal non-permanent body based in New York. Second, recently Pakistan is put in the blacklist by FATF, giving it last warning to improve. So what is the answer? I'm waiting for 5 seconds. You can pause the video and answer as well. Some of you can also tell me whenever, if you are watching these videos consistently, so you can tell me in the comment box that how many of you got right. Out of 5, how many you got right. So there can be, we can start a conversation also there. For example, how to improve some marks or something. So this exercise you can take up. Okay, in the comment box you can put these how many marks you are getting. So the answer is both the statements are wrong. So let us see something about FATF. We have discussed FATF in detail. So FATF is informal and non-permanent organization. It is based in secretariat provided by the OECD and it is in Paris. Okay, it's an initiative of the G7 started in 1989. So it has put Pakistan on the grey list, not on the black list. Everybody was thinking that it will be put on the black list, but it was not. Right? It has written 49 recommendations, 40 for the money laundering, and 9 for the terror financing. So this is, both the statements are wrong. Next question is with respect to SAARC. So which of the following statements are true with respect to SAARC? First, the SAARC association for SAARC was founded in Kathmandu. Second, it has 5 members. Third, SAFTA was signed in at the 12th SAARC summit in Islamabad. And fourth, South Asian Seas Program is a regional agreement adopted in 1995 among the all SAARC members. So, if you see, very easy, I told you in the SAARC has 8 members, and that is a very basic fact. So, when you know SAARC has 8 members, you delete the second option. When you say second is wrong, then this one is wrong, this one is wrong, this one is wrong, and the only option right is 3. Even if you don't know when the SAFTA came into being, then also you can solve this question very easily, isn't it? So, option is 3 only. So, what about this South Asian Seas Program? So basically, it's a regional program adopted in 1995. 5 maritime countries of were involved. That is Bangladesh, India, Maldives, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. So 5 countries from this South Asia were involved. Okay, it's a part of the regional global seas program. Okay, so just remember, just to highlight, it is a part of the United UNEP's program of the global regional seas program. So out of its South Asian version is South Asia Seas Program, and 5 maritime countries are part of it. So obviously the Bhutan, the Nepal, the Afghanistan will not be the part of it, because the maritime countries will be part of it. Okay, right. Next is so we have discussed, the answer is third. Next question is, which of the following groups of United Nations is the coalition of 134 developing countries designed to promote its members' collective economic interests and create an enhanced joint negotiating capacity at United Nations? Very easy question. So what will be the answer? So first of all, have you heard of this G134? You have not, because that's not there. So G34, there is no, because 134 countries is there, G34 will be there, answer is no. G20, we have seen these 20 countries, which are the topmost 20 countries, you can see, more important, most significant, these 20 countries, we have discussed that in detail, comprises of G7, BRICS, and we have read the code as well. So this is not G134, this is not G20, this is not G20, this is not G4. G4 are the 4 countries which are trying for this UNSC permanent seat. Which are the 4 countries? Germany, Japan, India, and Brazil. Okay, so these are the 4 countries which are trying for the permanent seat. So the answer is G77. They always remain in the news, and India is said to be one of the leaders of the G77. So G77 are the nations wise come into being, especially when we talk about WTO, when we talk about climate change negotiations. Then the idea of G77 actually comes into being, right? So this is G77. Next is with reference to G20 Global Smart Cities Alliance on Technology Governance. G20 Global Smart City Alliance on Technology Governance, consider the following statements. It's an alliance of the major technology companies of all the 20 countries of G20 group. Okay, so it's a major technology company of all the 20 members of G20 group. Second, it is established in 2019 in conjunction with the G20 summit held in Osaka, Japan. India has joined the alliance. Tell me the right answer. You can also mention in the comment box, as I told you, how many questions you have got right. It's a relatively tough question because such initiatives are difficult to recall, and that is why you need to practice the questions like that so that the recallability improves. Okay, so this is where you can focus. So the answer will be, is it a part of, we have read about it actually. So it was launched in conjunction with the G20 summit of Osaka, but not all the G20 countries are part of it. So it's a league of 15 of the world's leading cities network. Okay, and technological governance organization that will work toward advancing the responsible and ethical use of the smart city technologies. More importantly, why it's important? Because the India has joined it. It's also an initiative from the World Economic Forum. So you can also remember that. Okay, so this is what it's all about. So answer will be 2 and 3. The first option is wrong. 2 and 3 are the right options. Next question is with respect to the International Energy Agency. So first option is it is an autonomous or intergovernmental organization established in the framework of the OECD, that is Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. A candidate country to IEA must be the member country of OECD. That means a country which is part of EA must be the part of the OECD. World Energy Outlook is a flagship publication of the agency. So which of the following statements is right? So I hope you have marked it. Very easy question. This is basically international organization. We have discussed that I think in October month, very first month we have discussed about it. So it's an autonomous intergovernmental organization established in the framework of the OECD. Okay. So OECD in 1974, when the first oil crisis was hit. When I was discussing this, I also talked about the oil crisis, right? So India has become the associate member of this in 2017, because India cannot be the member of this because India is not a member of OECD. And to be a member of IEA, International Energy Agency, you have to be the member of OECD. What is OECD? OECD we have discussed. OECD is basically a group of the, you can say, rich countries, right? So publications of IEA are World Energy Outlook, Global Energy and CO2 status report. So what will be the answer? All of above will be the answer. It's an autonomous intergovernmental organization established in the framework of the OECD. Candidate country of IEA will be the part of OECD, and World Energy Outlook, we have seen it's the flagship publication of the agency, right? So that's the end of the session, everyone. Let us quickly see what we have read today. So we started with the discussion on SASEC, right? SASEC, we have 7 countries. Which are the countries which are not part of it? Pakistan and Afghanistan. And additionally, apart from South Asia, which country is there? Myanmar. Next, we read about this G7 artificial intelligence group started by the France and Canada. Now US has joined it. Next, and it is context of the Hawaii. We have discussed that. Then we discussed about E7, that is emerging 7 countries, BRIC plus IMT, that is Indonesia, Mexico and Turkey. So these are E7 countries. Then we discussed about this 5I countries, that are 5I alliance. So these are basically intelligence sharing alliance among the 5 countries, that are Australia, New Zealand, US, Canada and in between UK, right? And Japan wants to join it. Then non-permanent members of UNSC, we remember just highest who has become the non-permanent member of UNSC for the highest time, that is Japan, not India. I think 11 times Japan. Then ASEAN, not very important. ASEAN itself is important. Then United Nations Armed Trade Treaty, India is not part of it. China is joining it. US is withdrawing from it. Next, in country specific news, so we have discussed Antifa, that is anti-fascist political movements, right? That use violence, sometimes violence act, so they want direct action. Then Nordic Pool, that is the this energy pool, basically international exchange for power energy. Then Second Amendment Bill of Nepal. Then Black Life Movement, that we have discussed in detail, right? Black Life Movement, this question can come, this will be a very easy question if it comes, because it also makes the questions are basically on the international issues, and sometimes UPSC asks very easy question just to highlight that you need to keep this international issues in the mind also, or international social issues. Then Middle East Quartet, we have discussed Israel, Palestine. Then 5 questions. First is FATF. So it's an informal, non-permanent body. Pakistan is on the grey list. Then SAARC, it has 8 members, founded in Kathmandu. SAFTA was signed in the 12th summit. And SASEP is the South Asian Peace Program we have seen. Then the 3 more questions. First is G77, second is G20 Global Alliance, Smart Cities Alliance, and lastly this International Energy Agency. So with this, we finish our session 1 of International Relations June 1, and second session will be there. Then we'll discuss the July sessions. Okay, bye bye for now. Thank you in the next session. See you in the next session. Sorry, bye bye.